We are here outside of the final practice for the day, Thursday in Mankato. We've got Mike Wobschall. I'll tell you, you've seen this team for a lot of years. It looks a lot different this year, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. A lot of these guys, like key players on this team, are veterans or are going into their second or third year with Coach Zimmer. So they're really starting to hit their stride. I think a great example of that is Eric Kendricks. I've really been impressed with him. Stephon Diggs, really been impressed with him. And so it's just a lot of fun to watch. Zim's got these guys cooking. It's competitive, it's fun, it's feisty, and I think they're getting a lot better.
You talk about Diggs. I mean, if you came out here last year, you wouldn't even recognize that body has transformed, hasn't it?
Yeah, and that's an easy thing to forget is these guys are 21, 22, 23 years old. They're physically maturing still. And when they're that young, that's still a part of their growth and development, and Diggs is a good example of that. I think Kendricks is as well.
Yeah, I tell you what, you talk about growth and maturity, Alex Boone. That's a mountain of a man. But beyond that, a lot of enthusiasm out there during the 7-on-7 drills as well as the team exercise.
Yeah, and I think what's interesting about that, Tom, is the offensive line with John Sullivan and Brandon Fusco and Joe Berger. Even Matt Khalil is not a soft-spoken group, but they're just kind of a put your head down and grind it through and get your work done group. And Alex has some of that to him as well, but he's also loud and boisterous and has a lot of energy. So I think he brings something to that group that is kind of intangible, maybe, that is going to help. I think another thing with that group is Tony Sperano. And, I mean, you've been out here. You've seen a lot of practices over the last few years. Jeff Davidson was a good coach in his own right, but Tony Sperano is different. It's more vocal. You can hear what's going on when you're on the sidelines listening and watching, and that's been a lot of fun, too.
What's the biggest change in the offense you see? You get three offensive minds in there. What's the biggest change you see this season versus last season?
I think it's sense of urgency. I think it's an offense that now has a lot of returning players or veteran players, just like we talked about at the top. But I think they feel, you know what, we got to get better. We have to improve. We got to pull our weight. And the defense feels that way too, but the defense was the number 5 scoring defense in the NFL. Special teams has been solid, winning the field position battle. And I think the offense feels urgency. And I think they are their own harshest critic, and that's a good thing. Norv Turner has high expectations for this group. You add in Tony Sperano, a former head coach. You add in Pat Shurmur, a former head coach. Scott Turner, who has been with Norv now for a while and grew up with Norv, obviously. George Stewart has high expectations. So I think there's a good sense of urgency.
We look at Teddy Bridgewater, year 3. I always see a big jump in year 3. What's the difference you see in his play so far?
I think it's comfort and confidence. You don't see Norv or Scott stopping practice to correct things. You just see a guy with great command of the huddle and of the line of scrimmage, working with John Sullivan or Joe Berger to call out protections. And I just think you see a confident player. And it's not that Teddy wasn't confident before. He had a great college career. He was a first-round pick. He has every reason in the world to be a confident player. But I think he's taken just that next step in being a confident player at the line of scrimmage, not guessing or wondering so much, just more anticipatory skills from him.
Yeah, it's funny because early on, young players do this. They find something to get comfortable, and that's the go-to guy. It's not like that anymore. You see him spreading the ball around quite a bit.
You definitely do. I think it helps when you have 28 behind you.
Sure.
Adrian Peterson, Jerick McKinnon, obviously, as well. I think that's going to help him. But you're right, there isn't like an Antonio Brown type of guy who's going to get 120 catches this year. I mean, well, we'd love for one of those guys to emerge as that, but you do have an offense that's got a lot of different pieces. I mean, even a guy like Adam Thielen has really come on strong, and he could be a reliable target for Teddy. So I think that's good for him, that he's not going to have one guy that he's going to dial into every single time. I think he's going to spread the ball around. That'll be good.
The fans are about to get a look at Laquan Treadwell for the first time. What are you seeing with him so far? What's the game feeling like to him, in your opinion?
Well, work ethic, number one. I mean, he just got done at the jugs machine.
Yeah.
So
every day.
Yes, the work ethic is incredible with him. And I even saw Teddy out there with him after practice today. So I love seeing that when he can get the starting quarterback and the first-round receiver working together after practice. That's really good. So I think the first thing is work ethic, team-first attitude, a really good run blocker. You don't take receivers in the first round because they can run block, but that they are able to run block and do it so well, I think tells you a lot about the player's mindset, his team-first attitude. So I like that about him as well. And he's also big, and not vertical big. He's 6'2", I think. And everyone, when you hear big receiver, you think Mike Evans or Vincent Jackson. He's broad big, broad-shouldered big, I think. Golden Tate, Anquan Bolden, big, broad, strong, hard to get in front of him and cut him off. You always hear Zimmer yelling to the DBs, cut him off, cut him off, cut him off. It's hard to do that with Laquan because he's so big and broad. He goes up after the ball, and I think he's hard to tackle. If you watch some of his highlights at Ole Miss, broken a lot of broken tackles, and I think that's going to help as well.
You know, you talk about blocking. You got a receivers coach who used to play offensive line. You better be able to block.
That's a good point. Yeah, and also one who has been a special teams coach in this league. So you got that instinct of you got to be able to help the team in a lot of different ways. And George Stewart has always talked about run blocking with his receivers, so he's very passionate about that.
You know, last question I wanted to ask you is you look at this set of receivers, but you also got young defensive backs, two first rounder and a second rounder going in there. I'm seeing Trey Waynes playing a lot closer. Are you seeing his game mature?
I saw him take a step forward today. I mean, he had a great interception in today's practice, and I love it. And I think with him, the ability and the potential is not the question. I think playing behind veterans, watching these guys do it right so many times as a rookie, and then you're making rookie mistakes, maybe that hurts your confidence. Big man on campus at Michigan State for a few years, and then you come here and you're, the fourth, fifth corner. So I think he needs confidence. I think he needs reps. And once that happens, I really think he's going to take a big step forward. The Vikings are in a great position depth-wise at corner with the top 4 guys from last year coming back. You add in a second-round pick in Mackenzie Alexander. You have Marcus Sherrills as well. Great depth there.
It's nice to have the veterans and the rookies at the same time. Terrence Newman kind of lead them along.
Absolutely. And then it's nice to be able to give Terrence a few reps off here and there, and you can throw in a first-round pick behind him. I mean, that's really nice. So I think Zimmer and Jerry Gray and George Edwards have a nice thing going there.
I tell you what, as we get ready for the season to start, it's a new stadium. You've certainly been out there. Tell the fans what that stadium is like.
Well, it's really going to be a great experience for them, for the fans. The closest seats and suites to the field in the NFL. 2 huge LED high-definition jumbotrons or big screens. That's really going to be cool. The ETFE glass, the clear roof is going to be an iconic building. Fans are going to take a lot of pride in it. The one thing I can't wait to see for myself is if it gets loud in there. If I know Vikings fans well, which I think I do, they make any place loud. They made TCF Bank Stadium loud. Yeah. I think they're going to make US Bank Stadium loud as well, and I can't wait to get in there, especially for the regular season games, and hear that.
Absolutely. Well, high expectations here. Mike, we appreciate you stopping by and telling fans how the team's coming along.
Hey, always glad when you're here at training camp.
Sounds good.
Thanks.
From Mankato, I'm Tom Moore with Mike Wobschall.